More moves are coming for the New England Patriots after making a trade yesterday with the Houston Texans. A new trade is on the horizon. We break down the options for the Patriots, both in the linebacker room and a new option on the interior defensive line. We get you all the details of it right here today on Patriots Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. Hope you're having a great day wherever you might be. We've got a fun one for you here today on the show. Lots of interesting news and notes. Let's start first with one from Adam Schefter. This was a couple days ago at this point, but it's definitely prevalent to the NFL, and that means the New England Patriots. ESPN sources: Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade, and he will not be participating in the team's off-season workout program that opens Tuesday. Lawrence and the Giants have been through two off seasons attempting to negotiate a contract reflecting his value to the Giants over the last 3 years, but there has not been any progress per sources. Obviously, we can see why Lawrence is unhappy, and the Patriots, in some aspects, not necessarily in the market for it, interior defensive lineman. They really do trust the play of Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, but at the same time, I never think you can shy away, especially from a player of this caliber of Christian Barmore. Bleacher Report thinks the same. They released a couple of different optimistic trades for the New York Giants, and one of those included the New England Patriots. So we'll break down what they say is the best trade and kind of all the details behind that here in today's show. But before that, we'll let you know today's video. It's brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app, and it's the best way to get yourself into the action. If you ever feel like you're watching games, you want to be more involved, well, Prize Picks is the way to do that, and you can do so today by hitting the link in the description and using code DIGEST when you sign up for an account. We've got some picks for you later on tonight for the Masters coming up tomorrow, so make sure you stick around in the video for that. But as far as what Bleacher Report kind of talks about with Dexter Lawrence, the expectation is that he'll cost somewhere in the midst of a second-round pick to a late first-round pick. Bleacher Report has somewhat of a different take on that. Here is the trade they had proposed for the New England Patriots. The Patriots would, of course, receive defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence II, and the Giants, in return, will receive a second-round pick in this year's NFL draft, the fourth-round pick the Patriots have in this year's draft, and a sixth-rounder in this year's draft. Now, obviously, it's 3 picks, so it's a lot to give up, but you're not giving up a first-round pick. Now, what's intriguing to me about this and the idea that Bleacher Report proposes is that given the, nuances of Lawrence and the expectation of him being probably a late first-round pick, that's exactly what the Patriots have, so not including that is something of worth note, but I'm intrigued to see how this situation kind of continues to transpire. Now, last year, Lawrence did not have the season that he would have hoped. 17 games, 31 tackles, just a half sack, and 1 interception. He did have his most passes defended in his entire career, so there is that. But ultimately, it was definitely a down year for him, and the hope is that he can kind of get back to the level of play that he was going at before last year. If you look at his career statistics, we can kind of see and understand really the intrinsics behind his career at this point. 9 sacks was a career high in 2024. You want to think that you get him into a defensive-minded coach in Mike Vrable, which, by the way, I know the reports. I'm not going to break them down. We'll talk about that if some cold hard evidence comes in on Vrable, but just going to put that out there. But besides the point, I do want to kind of look at Lawrence from an outside perspective and say that he is a good defensive tackle. He would be a really, really good fit on pretty much any team. However, I just don't know if the price is worth it for the Patriots when you already have Milton Williams, when you already have Barmore, and when you feel pretty confident in your defense as much right now. Now, if the situation comes to where that's an option, maybe post-draft, and you're going up picks for next year, I might be a little bit more on board with that. But at this current time, I don't know that it's something that I would absolutely be fiending over for the Patriots to go out and try and make the move for. Now, New England Sports Network, Nesson, they had some interesting takes as well and kind of talked about how, getting him back to a winning team could help him out. Obviously, the 4 passes defended last year was a career high, 8 QB hits and 4 tackles for loss. It was not a career year by any means, but he clearly wants a change of scenery, and playing on a winning team could get the best out of him. I don't want to disagree with all of this because ultimately there is a lot to say about Dexter Lawrence and that he is a good player and that putting him on a winning team will be good for him. But at the same time, is that move to New England going to be the right choice? That's where I'm a little bit off the ropes on saying I don't think that's the right move, but I want to know your thoughts. Would you even consider trading for Dexter Lawrence, knowing the price tag of a, first round pick potentially, or at least a second round pick and some others behind it? If you would consider it, or you think it's a good idea, then type Y for yes in the comment section. If you think this is something that we should just go past and it's not something you should even think about, then I want you to type in for no. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section with a Y for yes or an in for no, guys. I think that there is, again, some options behind it, but when we're going to talk about trades, I'm thinking more linebacker is kind of the way that I want to look at it, just because of the way you lost Marte Mapu now, or trading him away, you cut him. I think there's more options to trade for a linebacker than there would be to trade for a defensive tackle, but that's just the way I see it. Again, Y for yes, in for no. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Now, I mentioned linebacker, and kind of the top tier guy that I could see the Patriots going after to trade is Azeez Al-Shaair. Now, he's with the Texans. We know the history of, let's say, dirty history of his past for his tackles and hits, but I do think that doesn't take away from his prowess as a linebacker. I continue to just looking at the linebacker depth chart, get a little concerned with Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane. Not the fact that their ability to play is not something I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the thought process of them, not getting injured, not worrying about them being worn out, or obviously we know Spillane and the injuries he had last year. I just want to make sure we have some guys in the, I guess, backup option space, and Azeez Al-Shaair is definitely one of those guys that I could see coming in and making a play for a starting spot / helping out in a lot of ways. And that same thing can be said for Jordan Brooks, a guy inside the division with the Miami Dolphins, 17 games, over 180 tackles, 3.5 sacks plus 1 forced fumble. I think ultimately both these guys would be great. Both these guys' price tags probably would be maybe a little bit out of what we could go for. Obviously, asset management is going to be huge for the Patriots, knowing they're going to be needing a bunch of them, either whether it be for an A.J. Brown trade or just knowing that you're going to have to spend a lot of money here on Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez and want to have the draft picks for the next half decade to surround them with talented players and kind of continue to build off the season that you just had. Speaking of that, I do want to get you my prize picks here at the very end of the show. Scotty Scheffler, I want to take the less on his strokes in round number 1. He's got 70.5 on prize picks right now. I'm also going to take the less on Bryson DeChambeau. 71 strokes is his mark. I'm going to say the less on that. And then for Rory McIlroy, the Masters champion of 2025, I'm taking the more on the 4.5 birdies or better. We all know Rory. He always starts off really great and then proceeds to kind of blow up, except for last year. Well, I think he's going to come out strong this season, or this Masters tournament, so I'm going to take the more on his 4.5 birdies, and you can go do these exact same picks on prize picks, and guess what? These 3 will get you $140 if you put in 20 because of that demon pick with Rory McIlroy. Again, link in the description and use code DIGEST when signing up for an account. I am intrigued to see what the Patriots do with the rest of the offseason. I think if they chose to look at Dexter Lawrence, I wouldn't be mad whatsoever. I do think he's actually a really good option and would come into play with the Patriots defensive line. But I continue to either look at the linebacking room or understand that our defense was not the problem last year, and we basically replaced everybody we lost to an extent besides Jack Gibbons, which is the linebacker room. So I'm intrigued to kind of understand it. I do think that we're going to learn a lot here from this upcoming NFL draft, not only with the New England Patriots, but also with the play of the Philadelphia Eagles as well, because you think about it, they draft a wide receiver with pick number 23. That kind of lines them up to make a trade for the New England Patriots and with them in terms of getting A.J. Brown. Now, Azeez Al-Shaair, again, he'd be great. I think it'd be optional to get him or for Jordan Brooks. Ultimately, the defensive depth chart is in a place where I could see them going after multiple different players, but we'll kind of have to wait and see how Eliot will flex to plan it out. But that's what we got for you today on the show. We do appreciate you watching, and we're going to see you next time here on the show. Peace out.